Let's give you the big breaking news at this moment. In an election that has gone down to the wire, it appears there will be no clear winner at the end of today. Joe Biden has made it clear he believes he is still in position to win. Donald Trump, too, is claiming a big win, and with several states still to finish their counting, and that will take a few days now, we are told, it appears we will not know who will be the next occupant of the White House. So the big breaking news that's coming in at the moment is that this race to the White House will not be over today. America will be counting for at least another couple of days before we know who is the winner. That's the big story that's coming in at the moment. Craig Kafura, would I be right in saying that this election, in a sense, therefore, will put America in at a critical moment in their political democracy where we do not even know who will be the next president? That's the nature of the Electoral College.
Well, it certainly will have everyone holding their breath for several days. Though I would note this is not the first time, even in recent history, that we have not known the winner by this time on election night. We didn't know the winner in 2016 at this point. Of course, in the year 2000, it dragged on for quite a long time. Normally, races are a little bit easier to call. This one is going to be a little bit tighter. But part of the problem in calling those races is simply the large number of mail-in ballots. Because they're going to take so long for several of these states to count, and because you're not then able to say, oh, we know how many ballots are still outstanding, it's just going to take quite a bit of time. That said, I think you will probably know Wisconsin's result in the next 24 hours. My guess is you'll know Georgia in the next 24 hours as well. Which way those states go will give you at least some sense of how the overall election is going to turn out.
Irfan Nuruddin, when Craig says America is holding his breath, is it that society is so divided at the moment that a victory for Trump will mean that Biden supporters will see this as the end of the world and vice versa?
Well, I mean, in a sense, right? I mean, but life goes on. I mean, some of us are old enough to remember Bush v. Gore in 2000, which came down to a Supreme Court decision. And, I imagine there were a lot of Democrats that evening who felt like things were never going to be the same again, and life goes on. I mean, so 4 more years of Trump is probably unimaginable for a lot of Democrats, but America's democracy has withstood pretty controversial elections before. And in the same way that Republicans, sat in the opposition for 8 years when President Obama was in the White House, Democrats will have to do the same if that's what is necessary. The real question, of course, given that what my reading of the polls suggests that the Democrats at the end of the day are going to have a pretty good outcome from this election, is what does the president do? He's already tweeted tonight that the election is going to be stolen. That's the kind of rhetoric that is irresponsible and unbecoming of the president and could foment violence and all sorts of other illegitimacy. So I think the real question is not whether Democrats think that the world is over, but what the Republicans do if their own president is claiming that the election has been stolen. I should point out that the New York Times has now called Minnesota for Mr. Biden, which is a loss from the Trump column from last time to this time. So that's a good sign for Mr. Biden in the Midwestern states. It probably bodes well for Michigan and Wisconsin, though, as you said, Pennsylvania is the big prize, and we won't know about that for at least another day.
Would I be right in saying, Irfan, just correct me if I'm wrong, that if Biden wins both Wisconsin and Michigan, he can afford to lose Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I think the real X factor here is Arizona. So if Arizona ends up going towards Mr. Biden and he picks up Michigan and Wisconsin, Pennsylvania becomes a slightly more affordable. He still needs ideally Pennsylvania or Georgia. But right. I think if he picks up he's got many, many more options to get to 270 than does Mr. Trump. So Minnesota is a good pickup. Wisconsin and Michigan are critical. But Arizona and Georgia potentially turn this into a landslide as opposed to just a very, very narrow win. So there's a lot yet to be known. My guess is that Mr. Biden ends up with close to 300 or over 300 electoral votes before this is over.